back guard. You're right. March.
Reverend, clergy, Congressman Kelly, members of the Cemetery Board of Trustees, Glade Run Church, Mars VFW, Post 7505, sons and daughters of the American Revolution. On behalf of Boy Scout Troop 400, I am pleased to welcome you to this memorial dedication. The Boy Scouts of America has a duty to God and country, and it is in this spirit of this commitment that we stand here today. I thank you for coming and for your participation. Would everyone please rise for the posting of the colors and remain standing for the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance, to be followed by the Scout Oath. Colors! Post the colors!
Color guard. Follow to the right. March. Color guard. Halt! Color guard. Seat colors. Ready one. Ready two. Ready three. Color guard. Forward. March. Color guard. Halt. Color guard, left, hey!
Please remain standing. Mrs. Glenna Smesko, Glade Run Choir, will lead us in the national anthem, to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and Scout Oath.
Honor guard, attention. Company, present arms. Present arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ringing, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Company, order, arms. Order, arms. Order, arms. Color, color.
Scout Everson, post! Scout Ben Everson will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and Scout Oath.
Company, present arms. Still. Present huh. True. Present arms.
Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Company, order, arms. Order, arms. True. Order, arms.
Troop 400 and any other guests here that have been scouts, will you please join me in reaffirming the Scout Oath? Scout sign. On my honor, I will do my best
to do my duty
to God and my country, and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. 2.
The Reverend Stephen Guttridge, pastor at Glade Run Church, will invoke the divine blessing.
Let's take a moment and pray together. Almighty God, you are ruler of the destinies of countries and men. In this silent camping ground of the dead, we come before thee asking thy blessing as we honor the memory of these defenders of our country's honor. 125 soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen who met their call to service in our armed forces. Wilt thou in thy infinite tenderness look down upon them and grant them everlasting peace? Is thy mercy wilt offer coming and consolation to the sorrowing hearts of widows and orphans, deceased veterans everywhere. Bless and save from every evil the country for which our veterans fought. Preserve it in purity and integrity. Bless the members of our community as they have gathered here in response to the call of love and duty to perform these rites of remembrance over patriotic men and women, and at last grant that we may all meet before thy throne, and to thy name shall we ascribe praise both now and forever. Amen.
Company, parade, rest. True. Parade, rest.
Good morning. I am Eric Schultz, a member of the Glade Run Cemetery Trustees, and I am here to welcome you on behalf of the Cemetery Board of Trustees. I would like to tell you a little about our project. Over a year ago, the trustees were approached by Sam Everson, Life Scout and a member of Troop 400. Sam presented us with an idea for his Eagle Scout project. He proposed the construction of a Veterans Memorial in our cemetery, dedicated to those men and women who had served with honor in our armed forces. Although our cemetery was established in 1812, there was no marker dedicated to their service. And as we were soon to discover, we did not have a comprehensive list of all who served. To honor the names of these veterans with a marker dedicated to their service was a personal objective of mine and the Board of Trustees for some time. We struggled with resources required for such an endeavor, and Sam presented us with a viable solution. He had an idea in April of 2019, and 15 months later, we stand here with our church and board benefiting from his endeavor. Sam raised the funds began researching the veterans buried in the cemetery and helped identify many of those interred who had previously been unknown to us. This was a painstaking process in which I participated along with Sam. On the monument to be unveiled today are 125 veteran names, 30 of which were not known to us prior to the research work done as part of the project. During the process, Sam went a step further, researching our church history, which is printed on the reverse of this display. Finally, Sam, along with his fellow scouts, constructed this display to be unveiled here today. The Cemetery Board of Trustees is grateful for his efforts. I would like to now yield the podium at this time to Scout Sam Everson.
Today, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Congressman Mike Kelly, our representative in the Pennsylvania 16th Congressional District. Congressman Kelly was born in Pittsburgh and raised in Butler, Pennsylvania, where he has lived for more than 50 years. After graduating from Butler High School in 1966, he attended the University of Notre Dame and on a football and academic scholarship. After college, he moved back to Butler to work at Kelly Chevrolet Cadillac Incorporated, a company founded by his father in the early 1950s. He took ownership of the dealership in the mid-1990s and continued to expand its operations. Congressman Kelly was and is a successful businessman and a public servant. Even prior to his election to the House of Representatives, Congressman Kelly had a distinguished record of public service. He served on the Butler City Council and sat on the boards of several local and civic organizations, including the House Authority of Butler County, the Redevelopment Authority of Butler County, and of special significance to us at Troop 400, was a member of the Moraine Trails Council of Boy Scouts of America. Congressman Kelly knows about scouting. Since January 5th, 2011, he has represented us first in the Pennsylvania 3rd Congressional District and today in the 16th Congressional District. He sits on numerous congressional committees. He keeps a busy schedule and is always on the move. He is a member of the House Ways and Means Committee and is the ranking member of the Subcommittee on Oversight. He serves as the Republican chairman of the Congressional Korea Caucus, the House Automotive Caucus, the Childhood Cancer Caucus, the House Retirement Security Caucus, the Healthcare Innovation Caucus, and the House Small Brewers Caucus. He is also an appointed member on the President's Export Council. Congressman Kelly and his wife Victoria, a former elementary school teacher, reside in Butler. They have 4 children and are the proud grandparents of 10 wonderful grandchildren. I had not met Congressman Kelly until today, and in preparation for my remarks, I watched a video of one of his interviews. There were 2 things that I noted. On the front of Congressman Kelly's desk is an inscription. When you get there, remember where you came from. I thought those words spoke to his character and underscored his dedication to others. This left me with the belief that he is a serving leader and one who is focused on solving the problems of his district. But there were a couple of interview quotes that struck me too, probably because they came from sports. One was from his days playing football at Notre Dame. He said, "In sports, everyone likes to talk about winning, that winning is the only thing, and winning is the most important thing. I hear that a lot from people that I played with, but it's losing that drives you more than winning. It's not about building a winning team, but building a team that refuses to lose." Wise counsel for all of us, I think. With these closing thoughts, I'm proud to introduce to you our Congressman, Mike Kelly.
Thank you, Sam.
I have a tablet here that Melanie Brewer just handed to me. The reason I was going to read from it is because those of you who know Sam, you can speak for quite some time about his accomplishments. And rather than trying to open this up, because I think it's more important to speak from the heart than to speak from a tablet. So I would say good morning, but it's a great morning. It's not a good morning, it's a great morning. And for us to be, yes, it truly is. For us to be able to gather here. And when I heard what Sam's goal was and what he was trying to do, I thought to myself, how in the world would a young person have a deep appreciation for all those who came before us, some of those who left for a foreign shore to fight a war and never made it home, but those who served and served to the fullest of their ability, and then were interred here many, many years ago. And when I heard what Pastor Steve had to say about, there was a church here at one time that burnt down. It just didn't burn down once, it burned down twice. So from 1812 on, we look at this cemetery and we think, who's buried here? And what did they do? And what was their life about? And what could I do to remember them? So I'm thinking, so Sam had to do an awful lot. We talked, John and I were talking. Can you imagine going back and trying to find information from 1812 on who it is that's buried here? Their accomplishments, their sacrifices, what they did in their lives, the families that they had, the families that they raised, their contributions while they were here on earth with us. What were they? And how extensive were they? And to be able to do what Sam has done brings back those memories, because I truly believe that 90% of life is showing up, because when you show up, people know you care. We're all here today because we care. And these are truly times that try men's souls. These are times that we start to question who it is that we are. What is it these men and women died for? Where is the country going? And in whose hands are we leaving it? And then you meet somebody like Sam. And then you meet the other members of Troop 400. And then you realize that America's greatest asset is not her natural resources. It's her youth. It is that next generation that's coming. It is that group to whom we are going to pass the baton off to and say, we got you this far, now you got to carry it the rest of the way. And the one thing I think we all want to make sure, that we don't put them in a position where they're behind. Not here. Not in America. Not in a land that has been blessed for so long. Not in a land that God has smiled on. Not in a land that has always met every challenge. Paid any price in order to ensure the future of this country. Look, I look at one of the things I remember about Sam, 4.24 grade average. I wish I had had that when I was trying to get into Notre Dame. It may have been easier. They say, you're okay, but you need to study a little bit harder once you get here, which was truly a challenge, because it was kind of out in front of me and I was chasing it more than participating in it. But I realize now that everything that any of us have is because of those who came before us. And so when we have an opportunity to meet like this and to gather like this as grandparents, parents, friends, relatives, we swell with pride. We swell with pride because we know we've done the right job and we've done the right things. I have a citation here for Sam that I want to give him, and it's one of the things that actually serving in this district, and I've been serving since 2011, and I will tell you I have seen great changes in our country in that period of time, and I think we all have. But we also understand that if it is to be made right, it's up to us. And so when I started reading about him, I started saying, what a great honor it is for me to be able to participate in a ceremony about one of our bright young patriots is coming forward. So this is the Eagle Scout Court of Honor. It's a certificate of special congressional recognition presented to Samuel Everson in honor of his dedication to civic responsibility and applaud his advancement to the rank of Eagle Scout, September 26, 2020. Everybody that's here, whether family, friend, needs to understand this is who America is. This is the youth that we look up to. This is the youth that we depend on, and this is the youth that we are going to pass on the baton to and say, keep up the great work. A lot of people, 1.4 million Americans in uniform, have given their lives to protect these type of ceremonies. Think about that, 1.4 million. Never again to sit at a Thanksgiving table, never again to enjoy raising a family, never again to enjoy Christmas or Easter or whatever the religious celebrations we have. Never again to be able to be there for the 4th of July or Memorial Day. They gave their life so that we could continue to do that. I think Sam embodies the best of America, that to which we look to take over. So it's a great honor to be with you today. It's very humbling. I wish I could say that in my youth, I would have been comparable to Sam. I would have fallen very, very far short. And for Troop 400, fellas, you're doing great work. And for the Scout leaders who are with them every day, you know this stuff doesn't happen by chance. It's parents, grandparents, relatives, and friends that make it possible. But what a great day to be here. What a wonderful celebration. And what a great honor to be with Sam and to present him with the citation. Thank you so much. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Thank you, Congressman Kelly. It is an honor for us to have you here today. And now we will ask Leonard to sing God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans, bright with love. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
At this time, I will re-present Sam Everson.
We are gathered here today to honor 125 veterans who served honorably in our armed forces. We are here to dedicate this monument to their sacrifice and to their patriotism. I began this project 15 months ago when I first walked through the cemetery, photographing the tombstones and trying to identify the veterans' graves. And at the very outset, I realized that these headstones might teach us a lesson rich in American history. Freedom is not free. A lesson worth remembering. There are veterans buried here that include every conflict from the American Revolution through Vietnam. Most of them were common soldiers, but all of these soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen were truly uncommon in their patriotism and dedication to duty. There's a Betsy Ross flag planted about 50 yards south of here, marking the grave of Robert Thompson. Robert Thompson fought in the American Revolution. None of us here today have ever been fortunate enough to meet Robert Thompson. The passage of time has long since obscured much of what we would like to know about him. Although he would have marched to fife and drum, we know nothing about his active service. We know that after the war, he most likely settled here on what were then depreciation lands. Thompson became a farmer and raised a family. We do know that some of his descendants are here, the Marshall family, and perhaps other families. The Marshalls would later continue his tradition of military service into the 20th century. Robert Thompson was the first to march off to war, but there would be many men of Middlesex following. The War of 1812 saw many answering the call to secure our independence for a second time. In 1814, the British were threatening Oliver Harry's fleet, which was partly under construction and frozen in the ice at Port Erie. The governor called for mobilization, and 7 men from Glade Mills answered. Among them were men like Private William List, who marched north as a member of Captain Henry Evans' company of the 138th Pennsylvania Militia. He and his fellow soldiers would have braved a Pennsylvania winter to trudge north along a route today known as Perry Highway. Their march secured Perry's fleet and later resulted in one of the greatest naval victories of the war. In 1861, the Civil War, the War of the Rebellion, began. In all, 25 men mustered into the Grand Army of the Republic. There was James Adams, a young farm boy, who along with his brother Joseph, left his parents to join the Union Army. Corporal James Adams' grave is marked by his national colors, a 35-star flag, about 30 yards to my left. He was a member of Company H, 102nd Pennsylvania Infantry. Adams was killed in action at the 3rd Battle of Winchester during the Valley Campaign on September 19, 1864. Earlier in his service, he had seen horrific combat at Gettysburg and Antietam Creek, but he was not to survive Winchester. Another notable veteran was Captain George Hayes, commanding Company D, 137th Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry. His unit also stood at Antietam, and then later at Chancellorsville. Hayes was to be one of 7 members of his family that would serve across the spectrum of 3 wars. The century would end with one final conflict, the War of 1898, known as the Spanish-American War. Albert Bowers would volunteer for that duty. The 20th century opened with more conflict. World War I found another Hayes, Private George Hayes, with the 83rd Division Field Artillery on the Western Front, seeing action at St. Mihiel. Yet not all veterans went overseas. Near the cemetery entrance is a headstone engraved Sam E. Weigel, 1896 to 1918, died in service. Sam was a young man in the training brigade at the University of Pittsburgh. He perished from influenza, the 1918 pandemic, which we know today as the Spanish flu. Finally, the middle of the century found the greatest generation, those heroes who saw action in World War II. 50 young men and women fought and grew to adulthood in far-off places like Guadalcanal, the Kasserine Pass, Monte Cassino, Normandy, and Bastogne. One of these men was Seaman First Class Earl Reitmeyer, a Purple Heart recipient who, while serving on LST-605, an amphibious landing ship, would have seen action at landings on beaches like Leyte Gulf and Okinawa. Another Purple Heart recipient, 20-year-old Infantry Sergeant Edmund Soggy, sustained his injury in the line of duty when an artillery first rained shrapnel down upon him, opening a wound in his hip. His hospital admission records state that the wound closure was delayed until treatment much later. Yet the list goes on. 13 in the Korean conflict, fighting in far-off places. Places and battles like Pork Chop Hill, Chosin, and Pusan. Vietnam would add 9 more veterans to the list, and with more battles like the Tet Offensive and the Battle of Saigon becoming part of our collective memory. And there will be more. More battles and more veterans. In all these conflicts, there were those who were fortunate enough to return home, raise families, prosper, or struggle, but always build the nation. And so, it is not only for their military sacrifices, but also for their broader contribution to American way of life that we remain grateful. there are too many stories to tell, and we can't know them all. But what we do know is that each and every one of these veterans did their duty to preserve our American democracy and our American values. And it is for this reason that we dedicate this monument to their extraordinary service, remembering, as it is inscribed, that freedom is not free. With the remembrance of these brave veterans, I would like to now formally unveil the monument. Mr. Don Crummy, assisted by Scout Sam Everson and Scout Gillespie, and Mr. Don Marshall, assisted by Scouts from Troop 400, will now conduct the unveiling. On behalf of Boy Scout Troop 400, I would like to formally dedicate this monument. The sons and daughters of the American Revolution, to be followed by BSA Troop 400, will now present memorial wreaths.
Left, face. Forward, march. It is time for our final salute. Would you please rise for the rendering of ceremonial honors? Company, attention! Attention! Detail. Company, present! Arm.
arms. Troops, present arms.
Left, left, march. Ready, and fire. And fire. And fire. Port, arms. Half right, move. Present arms.
Company, order, arms.
Order, arms.
Troop, order, arms.
Parade, ready.
Colors! Retire the colors!
Color guard, dance furlong. Call from the right, march.
Color guard, halt. Color guard, on seat, colors. Color guard, forward. March. Color guard, hold. Color guard, left, pace.
Rubber, front and center.
I face. On. True. All right. March.
Drummer, right, pace. Company, forward, march. Bugler, recover.
Piper, front and center. Piper, up tight. In place. Amazing grace. Trip 400. Left, face. Left color. Left wheel, march.
Drummer, I'd like to thank you for being here. You did an amazing job. National Color Guard, same goes for you. You did everything exactly as you were supposed to. I'd like to thank you for being here. Scout Troop 400, thank you for being here. SAR Color Guard, thank you. Bugler, thank you. Okay, turn back around here.
I'm going to pronounce the benediction, and I'm going to ask you to remain in place after the benediction for just two short remarks. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift the light of his countenance to you and give you peace this day and every day to come. And God's people said, Amen. Our service of dedication is ended. On behalf of Boy Scout Troop 400 and the Glade Run Cemetery Board of Trustees, we thank you for your participation in this ceremony. Taps are sounded. Lights are out. The soldier sleeps. Thank you.